Good afternoon. Welcome to South TV. Masikati akanaka tinokuchingamidza pano paSouth TV. Ndini wenyu Monica kunze kweguta, mushamarari ndiri life coach. Pano paSouth TV tinoita maprogram tinotaura nechishona. Neatinotaura nechishona, neatinotaura nechirungu. Musi wesvondo tinenge tichibata nyaya dzinotibata isu vekudiaspora, tichisanganisa nevari kumusha. Ipapo tinotaura nerurimi rwamai. Nemusi wechipiri tinenge tichibatazve nyaya dzinoti affecta masocial issues, tichitaura nechirungu. Pano ndine timu yedu yatinokurukura nayo nyaya idzodzi, titesipiwe chingamidzanai nevateereri venyu.
Tinokuchingamidza vateereri, and thank you Monica kutidaidza kuti tive pachirongwa chako. I'm a journalist, I'm a broadcaster and a blogger, and I'm an activist for quite a few progressive issues. Saka tinenge tiri pano nguva nenguva naMonica tichimboongorora nyaya dzinotibata-bata muma-communities kwedu.
Tinotenda. Tete Maudhi mazuva anga apo tanga takusuwai, tinokuchingamidzai, mhurisanai nevateereri venyu.
Mazvita Hanzi Monica, aiwa tinofara kunge tiri pano nekutipa mukana wekuuya kuzotaurawo kuingeta hurukuro dzenyaya dzinotibata-bata maZimbabweans kana even maAfricans. Ini ndinoshanda I'm a hand therapist and I work with ndoshanda nevanhu vakakuwara, but in the line of that work ndinosanganawo nemasocial issues akawanda, and I have a passion for the girl child. So zvese zvinongoaffecta mwana musikana, kureva kuti zvese zvatingataure panapa zvinoatoaffecta the girl child. So that is my passion. So thank you nekutipa mukana wekutaurawo zvinhu zvatiri passionate for.
Tatenda. Tichiuya kuna mukoma Kenny.
Kazuva vateereri. Ini ndinoitwa Kenny, achitaura mazita akawanda, asi ndinokwana pese. Kana mchida MC kumuchato nendiriko, kana mchida mna anotaura zvekugeto ndinendiriko, kana mchida mna anotaura zvakasiyana-siyana ndiripo, ndoshanda nevanhu, saka ndozvacho. Kana pakuvhangeri ndiriko futi.
Masiya pekuti mufundisi.
Ndofanira pavhangera. Dzimwe nguva ndoda steer clear of the title, because created that barrier. Inini ndoda kuita rich one, and sometimes title inondikanganisira basa. So ndichinguva nchinzi Kenny, and the other thing is I'm a poet too. So pfungwa dzangu dzakatosiyana nevanhu vakawanda. Saka dzimwe nguva ndomuka ndichifunga neside risiri iroro, side rimwe rebrain, dzimwe nguva ndomuka ndichifunga nerimwe side. Saka zvinobva zvavharana ipa.
Aiwa, tinotenda. Tikuchingamidzai mukoma Tendai Maduwa. Toda kuti mutiudzewo zvamunoita nekwamuri, and motiudza passion yenyu for nyaya yatinayo izvozvi, nyaya yeNzombe Huru yakabva mukurerwa. Chireva kuti nhasi tikufocusa on the boy child, kuti the boy anozokura achipinda mukunoita the man. Ndiyo nyaya yatakanangana nayo pano. Saka mukoma Tendai, tinotenda nokuti makabvuma kuuya pashow pedu. Tokumbira muchingamidzane nevateereri.
Ndinotenda Tete Monica, ndinotenda ma-co-panelists, so to speak. Tendai Maduwa ndo zita rangu. I do quite a lot of things, but in a nutshell, I'm a journalist, which is a broadcaster to be specific. I'm an author with plus or minus 12 books to my name to date, and I'm a filmmaker, I'm a poet, which is performance and written, and I'm a life developer. But generally, I can just say I'm an artist. That's how I can just package and brand myself. I am also a fitness trainer, and I'm a martial artist instructor. So generally, that's what I do for a living. I am so much passionate in this subject. When I heard you speaking about it, I speak with so much passion and with so much unapologetic voice on this subject, because I feel there's a very big gap that's in the space that we have to fill and discuss, and not just discussing, but getting to a point where we have to have fruitful results on these discussions, because just discussing alone cannot be enough, but we need to have a proper structure that sort of bears results as far as manhood, boy child is concerned. And as far as this subject is in place, you can't really outwit a woman and a girl in the equation of manhood and boyhood. So I wouldn't want to unpack much, since you had just given me a platform to just sort of introduce myself and what I'm much passionate about as far as this subject is concerned. I'll hand you over the podium. Thank you.
Tatenda. Saka pano ndokufara nokuti tine hanzvadzi dzedu mbiri vanonyora. Munoziva vanhu vanenge vachinyora zvinoreva kuti vanhu vanoverenga zve. Vanhu vanoverenga vanhu vanozvipa nguva yekufunga kana vachida kuita zvinhu. Saka izvozvo zvinotobva zvavatsaudza kubva kune Chii kune vamwe, zvinoita kuti vave more responsible kupfuura vazhinji. Saka nyaya yetiri kutaura nezvayo yekuti Nzombe Huru yakabva mukurerwa. Tikona mumakommunity medu tiri kuita matambudziko. Takuatarisa zviri kunzi mwanakomana ari kukura achinzi haite chakati, vasikana vachiita zvese. Ndozviri kuzoita kuti zvona pavanoenda out in the world hapana chaasingagone kuita. Basa recleaning ana basa naro anosvika achinoita. Basa recare work anoenda onoita. Varume manje anenge achiti handiite nesi inini, handiite zvipi, zvobva zvaita zvinhu zvinomulimita, zvinova zvinhu zveattitude. Saka ndichazoplaya imwe audio later on, but nandichida kuti zvona tisati takupinda munyaya iyoyo, tete Spiwe motiudzawo maonero enyu panyaya yemachallenges ari kufeswa nekuti the boy child anenge asina kuitwa equip zvakakwana achikura.
Mazvita henyu. Nyaya iyi inyaya iri very fascinating kwandiri ngekuti a lot of times we focus on the girl child, issues anoitika, how it impacts women, and oftentimes we forget kuti girl child girl child shete kune the other side of girl child, and tinotaura ma-issues ari kufesa vanhu, and it seems to always gravitate towards kuti vakadzi vari kutambudzika nezvakadai, but we forget to look at how did we end up with the boy child who may be often deprived of a solid base, and in the process we end up turning a situation where it's always pointing fingers kuti tiri kudhila nevarume vasingaite, because a murume anenge an adult man started off somewhere, sekutaura kwamaita apa kuti Nzombe Huru yakabva mukurerwa. Zvinobvira how a child is brought up and the circumstances and the people around them. To a large extent, my kuona kwandinoita inini tinenge tarasika pakuraisa children now. And ndiziva kuti Chii makambotaura kuti pamwe itrauma dzakaitika kune vanhu kumusha uku dziri kungoramba dzichipfudzwa to the next generation and next generation, and as a result kukudzwa kwakaitwa vana baba vedu, maybe negeneration yangu inini because I'm older zvangu, and zvasiyana neiye zvinezvi vana vakuzvikudza pachizvavo, and really some of the things zvatiri kuona vano-internalize zvinhu zvavanoona mumastreets zvichiitwa ne-a boy child. It's acceptable and zvinobvumidzwa. And society also has played a huge role in the immense or a boy child's worldview. Ngekuti vano iyo nyaya yekuti mwanakomana anongonzi izvi ndezvevakomana izvi ndezvevasikana. and zvaanezenge kunhonga kubva kuma-streets kune vamwe boy children ndezvokuti I'm stronger and I don't have to worry about anything. Munhu womukadzi munhu anongondichengeta inini anofanira kuti basa rake nderekuita zvakati. Children are not born like that. They internalize my experiences awanoita as they are growing up. Zvavanoona vanana baba vachiita kune madzimai avo, zvavanoona mabrothers avo achiita kuma-sisters avo, whether younger sisters or bigger sisters, but the girl child in the family anotreatwa sei. So they internalize that and they become like that. And in the end, then we wonder, how come we've got a boy child who doesn't seem to change with the times and is stuck in always looking down upon women? It's because of the environment, Yavari, the people who are raising them, and the society in general. Ndombomira ipapo, ndine example yandinoda kuzopa later, but ndombomira ipapo tomboita pass on to someone.
Tinotenda. Ndomboenda kuna mukoma Kenny.
Right. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And when I look back, I see a lot in the past where there were a lot of good intentions, but they became counterproductive. Tombo Tarsa, I don't know about Vamwe, but in Tichikuresus, okay, my mom, my dad died within 5 years. So, and I've lived with that up until now. I've made excuses because of it. I have looked at it and said, I'm glad my dad died instead of my mom. And you can call me cold if you want, but that's okay. But I've had plenty of time to think about some of these things. I've thought about my dynamics, a kukura in a family where the dad has passed away, where the child becomes an adult, where roles are assigned based on gender. My mom did a very good job in telling us kuti pana vamwevanakomana, pana musikana. Basa rinoitwa nemusikana nebasa rinoitwa nemukomana hazvina kusiyana. Kana pachida kubikwa, inini ndakadzidzira kubika at a very young age, and I learned to take care of myself, take care of my sister at a very young age. I became quite independent. Zvekuti waikona kutosiwa kumba nevana vadiki kwandiri and zvitofaya pasina kana chinombonetsa. But panga paine and kukura kwandaita, now I can do things for myself, and I thank my mom for that. But there was issue yekuti, okay, kune vakomana vangani, kuna vasikana vangani, and there was talk yekuti, okay, sake uri mukomana panororwa ningi ndochagamuchira mari yekurorwa kwake. So in a way yekuti it feels like iwewe uri baba vemusikana, or you are much more important because iwewe unokwanisa kureceiva mari yerora, uye anokwanisa kungobvisirwa mari yerora. What's fortunate kumba kwedu ndezvekuti I have my sisters are very strong-willed. Zvekuti vaivataura kuti inini handina baba. Handina baba. The only dad I know passed away. Saka kana iwewe Ken uchifunga kuti uri baba wangu, forget it. And then I wasn't trying to be anyone's dad, but these things were repeated over and over and over again. That's a societal norm, konzera kuti vakomana, family violence inogona kuitika even between kids. Mwana mukomana akafunga kuti ndiri nani kumwana musikana, anogona kutoita violence towards mwana musikana, whether ari mukuru kana ari mudiki, because anofunga kuti ini ndiri mukomana, therefore I am something. Kana kuti mwana mukomana anogona kupa mitemo, and some of it is quite good in terms of kuti you're watching out for each other. You end up being a self-culture, but some of it is counterproductive, because then the good intention is there, but vanavazoziva pavanogumira nepavanotangira nepavanogumira. Vanhu vakakwanisa kuziva the intent, anything, whether you go to Bible, whether you go to, just common law, if you don't know the intent, you can get lost, and really a good thing can become a very bad thing. One of the things I have noticed, I have two girls, and one of the things I've noticed is une vana vangani, but ndine two. Vakomana, no, vasikana. The next question is, saka muchaita mukomana? and there is so much pressure to keep trying. Mukaramba muchitry muchaita mukoma. It's as if mukomana ari nani kana usina mukomana hausi chinhu. Mukomana ari nani kupfuura musikana. And that just points to, we could talk about that more, but that just points to mentality in Iran. And then when you look at mazera edu who have vanobatsirwa nevanobatsirwa, you find sometimes attention inopiwa mwanakomana, the way mwanakomana is treated is different than the way mwanamusikana is treated. Vanhu vanoita kunge mwanakomana ndiye anobva aitoita kunge mwari pamba ipapo. And that is a huge problem because, 20 years from now, you have someone and a different set of sense of responsibility than vasikana. And then you question, kuti sei mwana yakazoita rombe. Urombe wakatangira pa the way you treated him ari mudiki, muchimuspoila, muchifunga kuti muri kumcelebrate. Tombogumira ipapo for now.
Ndakuenda kuna mukoma Tendai. Mukoma Tendai, can you chime in?
Thank you, Tata Monica. Let me begin to say the issue that we are dealing with, it's sort of a cultured, subconsciously cultured system or blueprint that sort of went bad in the making. Chekutanga ndechekuti, we grew up in a society where we have a culture or a system that trains girls from the day a girl child is born. They are placed in an environment which sort of pushes them to be cultured for somebody, to be cultured, to be prepared for somebody, and that somebody is a man. Mwana achizvarwa achikura chaanotanga kuudzwa ndechekunzi ucharoorwa, uchaenda somewhere. What that translates into is morals ake ese ne the way of living yake yese, it's consciously and subconsciously programmed for somebody, to be ready for somebody, to be the good person for somebody. And that somebody is me, a man. That somebody is Ken. That somebody is Rogers. That somebody is Peter. And chinoitika ndechekuti, which is why muchiona kuti zvinoita sekunge mukadzi anomature more than a man. A young lady can mature more or appears to be matured more than a young boy. It's not necessarily chronological, but it's an issue yekuti munhu akazvarwa achipinzwa musystem yekudzidziswa to be ready for somebody. So what they do is, hence you realize that ukatanga kupfimba musikana nhasi kuti upinde murelationship naye. In more often cases, what I discovered is that akuna musikana anongopinda murelationship for fun. Anopinda ane anticipation yemarriage. It's because akaprogramwa psychologically kuti that's the end game, that's where you should go, right? And which somewhat leads to issues of abuse, which we'll talk about at a later stage. But in the same vein of thinking, we have this young boy who is born in the same system, in the same setting, in the same culture, but hakuna munhu ari prepare this young boy to become a father one day. Hakuna a system iri prepare this young boy to become a man someday. So what then happens is, Georgina akura ari system yekuti akatrainwa kunzi tiri kutrainera Peter. Then Georgina apinda mu relationship ari ready to be a mother to Peter and the kids and whoever that's around Peter. And Peter is just a boy who happened to grow by age, but he's still a boy. Then Peter opinda marriage na Georgina. What then happens is Peter ano exhibita young boys characters in this marriage, which ends up freaking Georgina to the extent yekuti ndosaka tiri kuona marriages madivorces ari kukura each and every day, because Georgina anopinda ane ma-expectations ageorgina ndeya probably musystem yaakakurira kuna baba wake waexhibita kuve baba, then osangana napeter achiri mukomana, then ma-expectations otadza kumitwa, ma-frustrations opile up each and every day, and then this happens. Then I then realized kuti nyaya imwe hombe iripo ndeyepama-broken marriages, ma-broken families. Like I said, it's a system. Mwana maanokurira, we tend to be products of our past. It's naturally what it is. Mwana maanokurira nezvaanoona zvichiitwa becomes the norm, becomes normal. Mukanotisa vakomana vazhinji, they fence fathering kids which they don't take responsibility over. Whether they are in the mother's life or they are not in the mother's life, they just fence. We actually experienced a situation whereby isuta itonzi tisu vamwe vanhu vakapusa because hatina vana kunze, and it becomes sort of a fence lingo, kunzi ndine vana kunze, and it's something men takes pride in, which is actually utter stupidity and pure rubbish. Kuti munhu anoti ndine vana kunze and goes around, you know, impregnating women, seeding children, planting children everywhere, and they don't even take responsibility of those kids. So inyaya yekuti munhu akakura ari musystem where fathers went missing. Whenever there is no father, nhasi ndikadecida kuti handisi kuda kuve muupenyu hwevana vangu, be assured kuti vana vangu vachapinda musame vicious circle yekuti havapinde mulife yevana vavo. Because I, as a father, has gone missing. What they are supposed to be taking from me, this natural, normal setting they should have, or the blueprint I should be preparing them for, is missing. So what that translates into is that ivo vachangopinda musame vicious circle. And lastly, we have issues of masculinity crisis. Men by nature are proudful beings, by nature. We are proudful to the extent yekuti we go around making errors that we don't even notice that they are errors, but our egos won't let us learn and undo certain things, certain ethics, certain cultures, certain systems that has been installed inside of us. And zviri zvino again zvinokonzereswa, like I said, in a background. I'll give a very practical experience of myself. I grew up in sort of, I wouldn't say a broken family, because there was no family at all. I grew up in a setting whereby I lost my mother when I was 8 months, and I lost my father when I was 9 years. So what that translates into is, without giving out much details, I was prone to all sorts of abuse that a person can go through. And this abuse then ended up seeing me staying in the street. I stayed in the street until I became intentional, right, of taking myself off that area, and I became responsible for my own life at the age of 14, knowing where my fees is coming from, my upkeep is coming from. But this background then, like I'm saying, when a system is installed inside of somebody, it's one person's responsibility to undo it. Hence, pandatanga ku contribute, and that we need to get to a point whereby we don't just have to do discussions, but we have to have practical solutions and practical results from these discussions. So, a system, I grew up in that environment, and I had to be intentional. Remember, I had two choices, like any other person. If you noticed, a lot of people with the troubled past, they just end up exhibiting that troubled past everywhere they go, even in their futures. To the extent that Vamwe ndo vamunonzwa kuti they are into drugs, they are into cocaine. They may not be into cocaine, but they are just vagabonds. They are irresponsible fathers and all that. That's one choice. And another choice is to turn all that bitter, sour experience to become the best, responsible, perfect father and husband that you can be. It's again an intentional decision, right? That's the same past of a broken background, a broken setting, and a troubled setting where nobody ever taught you how to become a man, like literally nobody, but you had to be intentional as an individual to make a decision where you say, I have to be a unique person, even if the rest of the world said we no longer have responsible fathers and we have only one left person. Let it be me. It's an intentional decision. It's a choice. Regardless of the past, regardless of whatever that might have happened, you need to get to a point where you make a decision and you say, this is what I have to do for myself, for my kids, for my life. What I simply did was to break the cycle that could have been affecting my children today. And I broke it and start to establish something new and rewrite the blueprint into how men should be, into how a responsible man should live like, which is what I would teach my son, I would teach my young brothers, I would teach every individual who happened to be in my close circles. Based on the experiences that I had to go through, I had to rewrite this. So in a nutshell, we are really fighting with some trends, some systems that has been installed in people, and we have to be intentional about, as individuals who are listening, we have to be intentional about undoing all these things so that we create a society what we want. You know, I can't imagine myself as a parent with this age, you know, having to go to some places to take a young girl who is probably my daughter's age and undress the lady and sleep with that person, and your heart can't beat. You can't imagine yourself going around, you know, sleeping around with any other woman who is not really your spouse, and your heart can't beat. You know, what that simply means is tauraya moyo yedu, tauraya our norms, tauraya our dignity, tauraya our pride as men. And we tend to take our manhood in the wrong way, which needs to be redefined. Kuti murume hakusi kuenda uchiita bhuru busman kunana manjuma. Murume is taking pride of your dignity, taking pride of your principles, taking pride of the things that defines you, and being responsible. By responsible, I'm not only meaning kutengera mukadzi mota, kutengera vana chikafu only. Being responsible of how you culture your family and how you want to create your family system. So let me just end here for now and hand you over the podium, Mrs. Monica.
Maita basa. Manyatsoita unpacking, mukaita unpacking, ndofunga matopedza discussion yatopera. Takutopara program. Aiwa, thank you so much for letting us into your story. Kuti mutirakidze kuti zviri kushandiswa nevanhu anongove ma excuses. Nepamataura muchiti zvona ndafunga kuti pana nababa vakarera vana asi vaiprograma vana vavo zvisizvo, because vana baba vedu isusu kana tichitarisa vanga vari before us. Mapatoni akaitwa person anga akaita sei, because vamwe vakagara nanamai vakatirera tanga tisingazvione vana baba vachiita izvi, especially vana baba vedu isusu. Saka varume vakazozvinongera kupi manje variko izvozvo vari kuita kunga, unless yanga iri question yekuti vakuregererwa zvichinzi isu takakura tichitambura saka hatisi kuda kuti vana vedu vaende through what we went through, therefore vakuchiregedza kuticha vana my life skills zvese netsika zvakanaka kuitira kuti vagone kuve vana baba vari right kuvana vavo nemadzimai.
Maybe I can just add a little bit on that one.
Okay.
You see, this is now a global village, Sister Monica. We don't need to overlook that fact. We are living in a cyber generation. And if we don't train our kids and our people, the cyber village will do that for us. You know, I follow a lot of people on cyber, not necessarily following, but just noticing. There is a lot of fake that happens on social network. And everybody is busy to catch up with everybody. And they are busy to catch up with fake things and bad, rotten morals. So internet today there's nothing wrong with internet, actually. Internet is good. But at the same time, it can be bad when it's in the hands of a wrong person. Again, it's an intentional decision. You choose what you want to do. Personally, I choose what I want to use my social handles for. And that's what I do. I'm my own CEO of my social handles, just like anybody else. But the problem is, if you come to Tendai's wall and you see the things that Tendai posts, which you haven't verified if these things are authentic and is real and is genuine, you end up wanting to live like Tendai, and you then take Tendai's morals and ways of doing things and you apply them in your life. And somebody else who sees you again follows you. Remember, it's a trend. You have taken it from your model, who is Tendai, and somebody is seeing you as another model. They take it from you, and that somebody's take it from that somebody, and it becomes a chain of a bunch of confused people who don't even know who they are, but the internet is telling them who they are, which is why today's generation is sort of facing these battles we are fighting today, unlike our fathers and our grandfathers, because there was no cyber influence at all. This is another issue we have to deal with.
For another day.
For another day.
Yes, social media. Take him out.
Woo! Ndanga ndichingoteerera ndichingonzwa. I just wanted to ndangotanga nekutenda mukomakeni mukomana coach Chii for nekuunza perspectives amauya nawo are very different from where I would have initially started from, because kazhinji kacho tinokanganwa kuti kune vamwe vana baba vakaita semi who have turned out to be good but vakarezwa pasina baba, because society has blamed the absence of a father kuti ndo yakonzera izvozvo. So from that perspective ndoda kungobvumirana nezvinhu zvizhinji zvamataura nazvo, handichaita rehash, but I just want to coin what I was hearing, kuti it's about a mindset. A mindset is a set of beliefs that munhu anogadzira musoro make from many different perspectives, and a mindset can be passed from generation to generation. A mindset unotoirarama kutoita muupenyu, whether iri right or iri wrong, it's a mindset. And the mindset yatiri kutaura panapa, it's almost like an ignorant bias, kuti kune vamwe vanhu vechirume vatori nebias yavakatongoitwawo pass on from one generation to the next, kuti vakadzi vari apa varume vari apa, kana tichiita zvinhu vakadzi vanodai varume vanodai. It's so cut and dry. So ndinganditange for myself ndichiita from a solution perspective. Ndataura pandazvintroduce kuti ndine passion for the girl child. Inini I'm the oldest in my family, but I'm a girl. There are 2 boys behind me and then a younger girl. Society has a certain role for the oldest girl. Tete vakuru vane responsibilities are different from ana tete vadiki. Saka struggles angu andingasangane nawo as an oldest girl are very different from a girl who's the youngest, who's the baby. Very different, because nyange vakomana varipo pane pandinofanira kuti take a step away and allow these boys to take their role. But pane zvimwe zvinhu zvavasingagone kuita kana tete vakuru vasipo. Saka society ndiyo yakagadzira izvozvo. Saka ndobvumirana nemese kuti society has really put ndo zvinhu zvakaiswa mumisoro yedu tichingokura kuti ndo zvazviri. Now we move on to and you find that my struggles at the girl child who's the oldest girl are very different from the struggles of a girl child who's the youngest girl or the middle girl, the middle child. All those are differences. Then I was listening to the society and culture. How can you say it's okay to drop children all over the place in society? I don't understand that. How do you say small house is okay? What are the boys learning? So we are training our boys that it's okay to go leave your mom here, go get another wife there. It's okay. That's in society doesn't do anything about it. And then the now we religion. Religion, I'm a believer. I believe in the Bible and don't believe we are all created equal. That's what that Bible says. But there are certain sectors of religion, Wafundis included, who abuse their wives, the girl child, using the same Bible. Because pane something so you can interpret it zvaonoda kuti rukureva kuti vakadzi vari pasi pavarume submission yobe yapedikurwa vakadzi vakuitwa kunge varanda. But that's not what the same Bible is saying. So culture, religion, all these other things impact our mindset have come in and take only what we like. That's just what people do. Vamwe vakatoteerera vanongonzwa zvavanenge vachida kunzwa chete zvinovafambira to suit their own expectations. So from all those things, I don't remember myself wishing to be like, oh, I want to be like my dad or I want to be like my mom. I don't remember that. But I remember my brothers because they wanted to be like their dad so badly. And I'm raising a boy right now. You know, they copy their dad. So I agree from all those perspectives. Rolia Baba is very, very important in the child. Nzombe Huru, to go back to our topic. Nzombe Huru iripo, Baba is very important. And kudos to our two brothers here. I pray that God will give you an opportunity to raise your own Nzombe Hurus in your own ways, with Zukuru or whatever. But don't go whether we like it or not, they look up to their dad. There's even a song, I want to be like you when I grow up. Something but they want to be like their dad so badly. So we need men to rise up and do what these boys need. Society what are you doing to change the problem? What do we do about it? From another perspective, what have I done? Personally, because I want to start these struggles, a group of girls, let's talk. And a group let's talk about your challenges. And as they have grown, why are you teaching us? Why is nobody talking to the boys? To this date, boys are my advocates. Varume who can rise up and come and start my organizations for our boys. The boy in the diaspora. I'm right here. It's been 7 years. Nobody has stepped forward. That's just the truth. Apana, I've said I will partner. I'll be in the background. Vanobatsirwa set up something for boys. Nobody steps up. So I don't know why. So now you find all these organizations are led by women. Look, Vanani is the women who are at the forefront of these conversations. Why is that? Why is that we don't see men challenging other men? Why are we doing girls let's talk? Where is boys let's talk? So this is something I talk about wherever I am. We have to be intentional. It's an intentional decision that we have to make. Each individual to identify a piece of the cake or not. This is a problem, and I want to be a part of the solution. What can you do? I forgot something very important earlier. There are real differences between boys and girls. Whether we like it or not. I know we have gender inequality, we've got pay inequality, but my inequalities are real. Again, I don't feel mindset yet. I'm going to tell that set of beliefs. But my physical differences. There are things that Mkoma Kenny and Coach T can do physically that I cannot do. pane kumwe kukwira maladha kunodikanwa kuchatoda vanhu vechirume, whether I like it or not, whether ndikati ndiri woman power ndakazodini physically I'm just not built like that. Those are zvitori. Saka pane madifferences where atisingakwanise kuignore. It's a fact of life. Topedza wiring, the way we think, kufunga chako vanhu vevakadzi, pane bhuku randakamboverenga unoti vakadzi vanofunga like a spaghetti. That's just how we are wired. I could be sitting here right now with another meeting coming up. I'm already processing that meeting. But for men in general, they do think in this one box. Not in a bad way, but men are focused. This is it. Whereas we can just do not that it's bad. My emotions, the way we deal with emotions. Varume vanogona kutukana kamukoma kene maburana na coach T. Hayo kazodei mongono no kuva naye vari kutadza vari kuseka zvatopfuura vatopanini chapter. For us women tikadendana panapa, maybe that's it. Because that's just how emotionally we're different. So my emotions are physical, the way we are wired, and all these differences. So now for me, the solutions should come from a place of we've got irreconcilable differences between men and women. We start from there. Fight at that level at winning my solutions. Number one. Number two, society. Kuti tichachinja mango mindsets varume vakuru vatoko 70-80 years, it's a little bit too late. But maybe we can start with the younger generation. What can we do to change this societal, this cultural, and even these religious biases? Why is that? And I'll end here with a question. Why is it that you're so focused on how we dress and how we modest? Who is talking to the boys about modesty? And I was not able to answer that question, so I'll end there.
Yeah. Anticipate says, can I chime in? And then the player and audio and and then we carry on.
Intentionally the coach T na anti-mod is very, very important, because for us to debunk this kind of thinking and processing, it has to be very intentional. We have to step back and say, what is it that we want to change? And make an effort to change things that have been like that. It's a whole paradigm which needs to be undone, because if we continue carrying on with what we had and thinking that's how they're supposed to be, it's not going to make any difference, because there's no intentionality. It's not going to happen accidentally. Like Maud said, that was a very, very good example, that you've been trying to encourage men to step forward and help change the system. But your issue is not different from most efforts that we are making to change a lot of things. I work in HIV, and I've got lots of groups of women, to give education, to support people who are living. But men, to call them, let's talk, come and let's talk. They just don't. And I'm not so sure if it's part of the wiring of men. I really don't know. And I really would like to thank Coach Chii for being so vulnerable and opening up to his life. These lived experiences are very important, because when people talk about this, they think, Coach, no, we need people like this who step forward and say, look, this is my life. I'm telling you my lived story. It might not be the most beautiful, it might not be very colorful, but this is what it was, and I had to raise myself up. Somebody's going to do it. It's not going to work. And I'm really touched. Today's conversation has been very, very powerful. Very powerful, because it touches on an issue every day of the boy child. And to tell you the truth, the boy child is suffering, because he's also meeting a girl child who is well prepared, who has been told to be herself, to be strong, to rise above a lot of stuff. And then when they are put together, then the boy child falls short and there's nowhere to go, because he's 21, 25, sometimes 35. Girls are struggling with guys who are 35 who are children. And it's because of this non-intentionality, where the change is supposed to just happen accidentally without anyone making an effort. This is powerful.
Maybe Sis Monica, if you could allow me to just answer the questions that have been that has been asked, Guti, why is it that we don't have men who step forward whenever there's a call to the issues that concern men? I once spoke about it in passing in my previous presentation or submission. I said by nature, men are proudful. By nature, it's natural, it's something within. Our masculinity recognition tells us kuti hatigone kuve vulnerable, ndosaka zvichinzi murume haachemi. You see a man going through stuff and anonzi murume haachemi, akachema ave weak. And by the end of the day, munhu iyeye ozonzwa kuti acommita suicide, afane depression, anxiety, and a whole lot of things, because naturally we have to have our pride, and then we fail to define yatinenge tichiti pride yacho kuti chii. How should we say I have my own pride? I'm Tendai, I have my own pride. What's that pride that we are talking about? Are we saying unofanira kunge uri munhu wekuti pane zvinhu zviri objective, zvinofanira kunge zvichibuild up to something, then you will wait to pull out? Or we are saying you remain subjective? So this is the major issue. Ndosaka muchiona kuti until today, you know, women become sort of more vulnerable to men than men being vulnerable to women. And which brings us to an issue, sorry, I'll take a little bit of few other minutes, which brings us to an issue, unoona kuti mukadzi ane all the red robots dzekuti baba ava haugone kunge uinavo, because murume angori nepride anotonetsa kugarika naye. Haakwanise kurecognize kuti apa pane mistake and pane error. Munhu asingakwanise kurecognize kuti pane error agone kubringa solution. Ndosaka vasingaite step forward, kana kuti patisingaite step forward pamunotidana, because hatigone kuona kuti pane error. For starters, kuti munhu unyore ma-corrections nyangwe kuchikoro, waifanira kunge wadiscover kuti apa ndaita mess up kuti ndigone kucorrect. Saka kana ndisina kuona error iyoyo, my pride won't let me to see the error, and it means handigone kuuya nesolution. So ndinounza all my red signs angu, my red robots angu mu relationship or marriage, yekuti unonyatsoona kuti tsano ava havagarike nawo. But again, nenyaya yekuti society, vanamai vanatete vakakutaurira kuti keep on fighting, keep on trying. Uchirohwa every day, not physically only, emotionally, spiritually. Uchirohwa left, right, and center, and you are being frustrated every single day. Uchinyatsoona kuti izvi hazvisi kuita izvi. But iwewe unoramba uri stuck nemunhu iyeye. Nepride dzake hagone kutoona kuti pane error. Until such a time yekuti, you know, vamwe vari kufa, vari muma-relationships. We have heard a lot of cases of my sisters, edu vanatete vanamai, vakafa nenyaya yekuda kuramba vakarorwa. Let me say this, sorry, Aunt Monica, just quickly. Marriage, it's a beautiful thing. Trust you me. Relationship, it's a beautiful thing. But it's not necessarily and entirely an achievement. Listen to me, hanzvadzi dzangu. Listen to me, my sisters, my vanatete. Haunzi wafeila upenyu kubuda mu abusive relationship or marriage. You need to know when to exit. Usazonzi nenyaya yekuti tete vakakuti ramba uchirwisa marriage yako kana kuti unogarira vana. Listen to me. Kids will grow up and they will understand. They have their own lives. Ukagarira relationship iri abusive yauri kukuwadzwa nenyaya yekuti uri kugarira vana, one day vana ivavo vachakura, they will be out of your life. Uchasara nemhondi yako uri butchered. And remember, you have one life to live. Uri butchered, uri traumatized. Vana ivavo vabva muupenyu hwako. Look, I believe kuti vamwe muchine vabereki, but hamuchagari nevabereki venyu today. You are out of their lives. Now imagine if your mother had stayed because of you. Where is she now today? So you need to know when to press an exit button. And this could encourage a divorce, and this could encourage a separation. But for mental hygiene and for your life, tizaine upenyu hwenyu, Gilbert akatongokuratidza kuti ndo zvandiri. Please, my sisters, run away with your lives. Hatingatombokuti muri ma-failures. And musatedzera societal trends. When it's not working, and exit. musagarira izvozvo. Murume ane pride anonetsa, agone kuona pane era, and anokuuraya. Thank you.
Maita basa chaizvo. Notisusu kana tirisu vakadzi tiri kutaura kuti murume anokuuraya, zvisiri kubva kune munhu wechirume achizvitaura. Zvinongoita sekunge zvinonzi isusu tinongoridza mhere pasina. Asi kana takuzvinzwawo zvichibva kuhanzvadzi dzedu kudai, dambudziko iroro ramataura iroro takafesana naro last week, tichida kuti titaure nenyaya yevana vari kubatwa zvibharo kuningirikino kwepwedzuko, vana vane makore 9. Varume vataidaidza kuti uyai titaure pano nyaya yacho. Takaita murume 1 chete. Hanzvadzi yedu yakauya kuzogara nesu pano tikataura. Varume vazhinji vairamba kuuya kuzotaura. Ndiro dambudziko racho iroro, because havasi kuona kuti pane era, maybe because ndo maperpetrators achona. Vairamba kuuya kuzotaura. Saka ndipo patinoita dambudziko. Mirai tinzwe audio yamakanditumira, ndofunga manga mune point yamanga muchida kuraise about audio iyoyo. Ndizvo kamukoma Chii?
Ndizvozvo.
Okay.
Ndizvozvo muri kutaura, ndinotaura muchifamba, muri kuzviitirei? Mufunga kuti ndingamunotirei? Handizi mukadzi era kuda murume.
Problem yako Chii manje?
Problem yangu is because mako ndibati muri makatesa ko makafuka gumbezi renyevhite. Maiti muntu muri kurwara panapa. Taita matest tose tapedza panapa. Chii chandakutadzira ini? Hamusi kundibata ndiri mukadzi nditesa kubatwa nemurume wangu. Every day tongorarama wakatesa ko mumwe.
Umuntu anomanikisa.
Kana ungandidai kwetaura kuti hauchandideswa.
I told you to make up your mind on that.
Imi muchiitei makarara panapa? Muchiitei muri kuita zvamufanira kundiita semurume wangu. Why do you want me to make my own decision?
Why are you forcing yourself?
Kana musingandide kutaura kuti handichabude, tizvitaure kuti hamuchakwanisa kurara nei.
Handisi kurara newe, handisi kukwanisa kurara newe.
Kana musingakwanisa kurara nei, ngatichingorambana because ini ndine mafeelings. I'm a human being. Chero zvezvinhu tikaenda kukoti ndichakumbuka. Ndiregerei kukumbuka, mukuona kunge muri kuita zvinhu zvakanaka here kunapa.
So you're forcing yourself on me. Is that how you feel?
Because ini ndimakarara panapa, ndimi murume wangu, ndonzwa mafeelings mukuita sei. Muri kuti ndiite sei? Zviri kuti gumura because imi mucheche wachona hapana zvamuri kuita nezvazvo. Because imi last week makaenda out mukarara negirlfriend yenyu. Imi panapa muri kuuya muchindipa gotsi every day. Makatora makondomu kana mashandisa.
Mine's in a form of abuse.
Right. This is precisely what I've been saying, Tete Monica. It's very clear. I mean, you don't need a scientific rocket to tell you what this is abuse at its best. And this woman clearly sees Gutapachina, it's a done deal. And the man is very clear. Look, I'm not with you. You are just here as a placeholder, but you are literally forcing yourself into my space, into my life. Hence, he is even refusing whatever that this woman should be having. To me, my point is not about them sleeping together or not sleeping together, but the context of their conversation. The woman is given all the red robots. But look, this is a dead marriage. And the mukadzi chari kungoda ndechekuudzwa chete kunzi handichakude. Ndoshoko raakamirira. But audzwa in all forms. But akangomirira chete kuti murume aconfess kuti handichakude. And she is stuck. Why is she stuck? And the reason why she probably recorded this audio is simply because she needs the evidence ekuzoti kana akunopresenta kwaakabva, kwandakakudzwa kuya, kwandakaprepare kuya unze ndiri kupreparerwa Peter wamakandiprepare uyu, this is what we are going through. And what then happens is munhu anoramba ari confused because kwaachanopresenta audio iyoyo vachamupa their own way of seeing and analyzing this situation.
nyaya yacho futi ine issue yekuti pana vakaenda kunotestwa saka panogona kunga pana akainfecta mumwe futi ine malayers akawanda perspective yamataura yekuti aminoti ada kuudzwa sei kuti chi tandichada zvino akaramba ongozvimanikidza pamunhu ndokuzoguma akuita sei akukwadzwa kana kuurayiwa tete Spiwe.
You know that audio, yeah, it's powerful. It's just pregnant with meaning, like you said. We can look at it from both sides. Kuti munhu ari kuchema kuti ndarwadziswa, and you know, but also on the other side, like Coach Chii said, ari kuda kuzonopa evidence kuti zvamakanditaurira zve, here it is. But the bottom line is, zvinodzidziswa namod kune a girl child, know when to exit, leave the table when they stop serving dignity, you know, just leave the table. It's no longer working. And you need not get to that point. You need not get to a point where it's pathetic. It's almost pathetic, you know, but it's sad because, again, it's what's wired in a person's head that I have to try all I can. If it touches you, if it's a sexual thing, if we're just looking to muna, akakubata, would you feel good? You know, about you, about the relationship. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough thing. But like Coach Chii said, unofa, and you need to leave the table when they stop serving dignity. Honestly, decency is gone when people start treating you like that. It's sad.
Sorry, I had just lost a line.
No problem.
Okay, should I?
Mina timboti mkoma Kenny then tozozoka kwa moti.
Okay.
Sorry, forgive me. Dandaita mute. And Nasha Kawanda Shokutaura right now, I just agree with everything that's been said. Thank you so much for your contributions. I think in terms of why are men not participating in some of the issues? I think if we go back, if we go back to the way our structures are set up, I find kuti pane problem even among varume pachezvavo. And what I see in community building, what I see is just there's a mindset here kuti kana tiri vakuru, we have all the solutions for the younger people. So isusu kunok we, you know, a generation yangu in I struggle nevanu vati kure varikuma, you know, 50s 60s. Sorry if they happen to be listening, but here is the problem. This is the war vet generation, and this is the ED generation. These are the people who bled and died for us and liberated us, and they have all the answers. They know the problems, they have the solutions. And so when they invite you to participate in anything, we're gonna do 1, 2, 3. But next to Nengo takatoita constitution kudara. So we already have Saka, and you ask Saka, they tell you recently in the Kumbiro detail project. Okay, I'll do it. But the next thing I know is everything is outlined in Changwe in there is not even a chance here to change anything. And so that's the problem. You know, testing solution, and then we are more in touch with, you know, Vanu is slightly younger than me. I mean, I find I get along more with people their age young because they're not trying to impose on me how I should think, how I should approach things. And when it comes to setting something up, I would rather work with Vanu. And then I find kuti vanhu vari much younger, vari kuma-20s mazera evana vangu, they are searching, they're looking, you know, young boys are actually looking for role models. They are. I don't know kuti patinozorasika ndepapi, but you know, I've seen people in my community very younger who would do whatever they can to get a male role model. And I think sometimes it's just, my barriers at Noisa in our own way. Let me go back to why I do not participate in my programs. I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable here. I've never been, I was born on a farm. I was born on a farm. Farming papa, your neighbor was like miles away. It was just you, Vanobatsirwa, and that's it. Kana uchitoti neighbor ukutaura kumba kwamainini mnen'una wababa ndo neighbor yenyu pa same farm. Kana uchiti neighbor ukutaura kumba kwa tete. So just living that life, it is sheltered. If you don't have a lot of exposure to people out there, it's really very difficult to have relationships with people kana wakura. Ndakazoenda kunoita grade 2 kwaRare ndikazokura kwaRare, but still the same thing kuti imimi pamba penyu apana a male figure anonzi wamnoti baba. You have an sekuru, you have an uncle, you have an achi, and you look at them, you see their lives, you learn it, you learn 1 or 2 or 3 things, you decide kuti shakata ndite shakati ntunoita. You see how they get along, you say kana ndazokura doita get along. You see neighbor ichirova mukadzi wati kana ndazokura I'll never do this. But what this did to me, living in an isolated kind of circle, is ndakura I was never able to trust varume vakuru kupfuura inini. I just don't fit in. Ndinongoona nge vari kuda kundodza zvekuita kana kuti vari kuda kundidefine kana kuti vari kuda, maybe that's the poet in me, but I don't know. I can't have people just trying to tell me it is so. I found my way ndega without all that. And for people to start, telling me kuti I'm still trying to figure out kuti Chii, but I feel like there is a barrier. And when people try to dictate how you should do everything, that does not help the barrier. That actually makes it bigger. I don't know if I'm making sense, but that's where I'm coming from, and this is thought in process. I'll keep trying to answer that question, because say varume vasiri involved. As for last week I think last week there's a lot of interconnection with varume of Zimbabwe, and sometimes the things that their lifestyles that they lead and their connections. What I think is happening chakatadza vanhu kuya last week is either ivo vanenge vari involved kana kuti they have interests. They have my interests in, they know someone who is involved in such things. So they know if I go papano and kantaura nyaya dzakati mangwana zvichazonditeera zvikandinetsa, because either inini lifestyle yakada kudaro kana kuti ndinozana munhu ane lifestyle yakadaro who is an influencer and zvichandinetsa inini. So to protect my own interests, ndingangogara hangu kure nazvo. So it shouldn't surprise you. This is, look at the stories that broke out. All these guys, my sex scandals, the big shots. You see how connected they are, and how one person is doing this and it affects the next person, because my friends vanish or come this. So it doesn't surprise me, but people will not show up to say this. But it's always going to be a question for me. Let's go back to it next week, maybe sometime soon, before we lose focus.
Aiwa, tinotenda takuchita wrap up. Tete Maudi, dokumbira kuti mupe your final thoughts.
No problem. I just want to say thanks everyone. Ndinofarira kunyora manotes saka ndinechida kuti ndinyatso follow logically zvekutaurika. Saka ndingangoda kuti tataura zvakanyanya nenyaya kuti varume ndingotaurawo padiki in terms of us as women and me as a mother yavaraisa vakomana zvese nevasikana. Ndingange ndakunyepa ndikasataura kuti ndakatombotsurika kuti kwemimi maiti tite zvakadai uyu mukomana hamusi kumuexpect kuti I get the same thing. I've faced situations like that. Saka isu vanamai, we also have a responsibility. We can only be the salt and the light in this world by each and every one of us being intentional. I'll keep repeating that word rambotaurwa earlier. Kuti kana uine vakomana, vazukuru, vana vehanzvadzi, vana vevakomana, whatever, as the society, munhu nemunhu, itiwo haini pandichafa ini ndosiya ndachinjowo wangu wani, because that is how revolutions begin. They begin one person at a time. Saka isusu tiri 5 panapa tikava intentional kuti kana usina mwana mukomana, I'm gonna go for my brother's child, I'm gonna go for my friends, my godson, and make a difference in their lives. Kuti vati mamwe minds dzatiri kutaura aende. Pane munhu ataura pagroup, I think vakanzi Zimbabwe culture. Thank you for your contribution, Hanzi. There is a need to bridge the gap between the old and younger generation for the country to move forward. Ndinobvumirana nazvo izvozvo. We need bridging the gap programs. For instance, mentorship program yekuti ndanzwa mukomakeni vakutaura rightfully kuti ku-intersector between generations can be very difficult. Saka kuda pamwe tingade kuva nemamentours ekuti generation iyi iri kumentor vari pazasi tichingodaro one person at a time, one couple at a time. Imi vana mukomakeni muri kuita effort yekuti chava chiri wadika momusi mungakoniwa kune vahombe kwamuri, but let's keep trying to make the generation behind us better. Tisiye nyika iri nani rather than what we have left, zvatakagashira nyika yakaita. Ndanyora zvakare panapa kuti izvoni vulnerability is the new strong. I'll repeat that. Vulnerability to any man or woman who's listening. If you're so prideful that you can't be vulnerable about your shortfalls and your shortcomings, you are the weakest man in the pod. Varume very strong. The varume vanobvuma kuti ndakanganisa, I'm wrong and I'm sorry. A man who can say I'm sorry is very attractive. A man who can say I'm sorry to a woman, I know attract respect. And a lot of our relationships are about love and respect. Murume asingagoni kuti sorry, anonetsa kurespecta. A man who can break himself down and say I'm sorry, anodika to those men who are listening. And kutaura vari panapa vane kuti they are already vulnerable, ndikutaura vateereri. And then there is power in vulnerability, whether you're a woman or a man. Kungogona kuva vulnerable, basa chaiko chekuti paitika problem, fault in there, and if you are able to raise your hand and say, I'm sorry, that was me, I made a mistake, you will be respected forever. Rather than to try and hide behind the bushes and point fingers when everyone can tell whose responsibility it was. What will lose the respect, yes, zvakafanana nemnaenda kubawa nema-workmates, unodhakwa kuita kunge rombe. Paunodzoka kubasa musi weMonday, nobody has any respect for you. It's the same thing with failure to take responsibility for your actions. And then my challenge is to us is wema platform wananti Monica. Patinotaura zvinhu zvakadai soka, ngativa include the generation we're talking about. For instance, if we are thinking kuti the boy child we can reach is the teenage boy, ngativaunzei or kutomboita platform yatinovapa ivo vega vachitaura ma-struggles avo, the college age boy, find out from them what can we do to help them, because tingangotaura isusu tikaita hash out the issues without the solutions, but solutions anobva kune varidzi veproblem. Do the boys think there is a problem? Maybe to start from there. And then a lot of what we've talked about, whether it's religion, it's culture, it's gender inequalities, the society, whatever, at the end of the day, is the difference between good and bad. Whether wataura kuti Bible rakati zvauri kuita zvacho zviri good here or zviri bad. Society yakati ngatidai is the definition between good and bad. Saka isusu tikangoziya tikatanga one person at a time kuti whether uri kutita mukadzi wako or uri kurespecta hanzvadzi yako, are you doing a good thing or a bad thing? Hazvina basa. Then good and bad crosses across all lines of culture, crosses across all lines of good, of gender and religion and all these things. Hazvina basa. Are you being good or are you being bad? What are your intentions of doing whatever it is that you're doing to a woman? Uri kuzviitira chi zvauri kuita. Saka ndongofunga kuti hondo yatinayo panapa is between good and bad. Ndokufunga kwangu, nango ndo my last thoughts angu.
Tatendesipiwe.
Ndinoda ngota again to emphasize intentionality. We need to do that. And number two, the need to change this paradigm shift. We have to change it. What is there? Because we seem to be going towards influencers. That is the new life. Munanenga come up with some influencer, good, bad, or whatever. And we can't carry on with that. We know if we leave it like that, vanhu vese vanenge vari attracted kune zvinhu zvambotaurwa nani nacoach Chii, zvavanoona patv, zvavanoona pafacebook, zvavanoona, it's all about material things, but that's not what makes a man. That's definitely not what makes a person. And we need to break that mindset, to break that thought, because the new worldview yatiri kucreata neizvozvoka ndiyo iri kuticreatera mamonsters atiri kudhila nawo iyaya, who grow up to be men and having to deal with maybe an empowered woman. I actually feel sorry for that, because I see a lot of men, young men, middle-aged, vari kuroora vasikana who are much stronger, in the sense that havagoni kudhila nawo, because anongoona kuti ndiri kunetswa nemukadzi uyu nezvaari kuita ichichi. They are not prepared for the women that they are marrying. Unfortunately, the women are getting stronger because they are easier to change. Groups akadaro. And also another thing I wanted to point out, kuti church, I always go back to the church is a very, very powerful platform. It has to stop telling the girl child to stay in there because you are married and that's how it should be. Because again, people are making it sound like if you marry a murume anoenda kuchurch, then you are in good hands. No. That doesn't define the man that you are living with. He could be coming to church with you, but totally destroyed. Other than to show up with you in church, for people to just look at. We need to be mindful of these things, and I think the church is a very powerful platform and should work towards making an effort to change this paradigm, to break this mindset and to change the paradigm that is existing. Thank you.
Tetes. Thank you, Church. Mkoma Kenny, your final thought and then also Coach Chii.
I think that, we have to get the young people here. If we want to hear if we want to know what they think, and if we know what to do, I think we really need to get the young people involved. I mean, we talked about this before, and we saw them before, and we saw kuti conversation is so much richer when they are here. I attended a conference years ago where we were talking about younger people, about ending racial violence among young people. And someone got up and said, but where are they? We are here, directors and CEOs, but where are they? And that is the question we need to keep asking ourselves. And if we are dealing with the problem, we need to get the people that are most affected to get their say in. This is what's happening, and this is how I'm receiving it. There's a statement in you swallow the moon, but you don't know your own hand, and that's what it means. We look at problems from a distance, from above the clouds, and we define them, and we try to come up with solutions. But as long as the people are not involved, the people that are not involved, we're not going anywhere.
Thank you. Nkomati.
Reganditange nekutenda nekutidana and creating such forums, just Piwe and the team. I really applaud you for such. We need more and more of this, and more and more platforms to talk about this. And then we need to change the narratives as far as this subject is concerned. We are just tired of going back to the same old stuff, dealing with the same old systems, same old cultures. We just need to change the narratives on how we have to engage on this matter. Then I need to sort of advise, not really address. I don't do address. I sort of drop what I call food for thought to all men who are out there watching and listening, and those who have the opportunity to listen thereafter. Let's be responsible adults. Let's be responsible. Kana une vana vakaitisa mukadzi usinaye mukadzi umusisiri mose, hauna kurambana nevana vakarambana namai vacho. Chengeta vana vako ndevako. Usaite kuti vana ivavo vave dambudziko resociety rekuzoti vamwe varume vauye vaite rise. There's nothing wrong absolutely in any man rising any child. Zvatinongogara tichitaura kuti mwana ndiwe munhu wese. But why can't you step up iwewe as the biological father and father your own kids? Be responsible for your own kids. At least provide what's needed for that child. Materially, emotionally, spiritually, be there for that child. provide all the security that's needed for that child. You know, it's your responsibility. You can't go around and you know, seed children and abandon them. It's your responsibility. Man up, be a man enough. Then to our sisters, well, sort of adding pangine zvanga zvichitaurwa, having a person ari mukereke is not a guarantee. You know, marrying from the church or in a religious circle, it's not a guarantee of having a responsible marriage or a responsible partner. You can still meet Adam's son in a church, and you can still meet Eve's son, the first deceiver on earth, in a church. So it's not a guarantee kuti kana wapinda mukereke wakuwana the rightful partner. No, there should be certain standards and certain principles that a person applies to get a proper spouse. Imimi hanzvadzi dzedu dzatiri kutaura nezvadzo tichi applausa pano, tichikurumbidzai pano and you know, fighting for you and all that. We are doing a wonderful job, and you guys, you are doing a wonderful job. Kunevo vamwe nhubu dzirimo dziri kutonetsa varume. Ndo vandiri kuda kuti ndiadressewo izvozvi kuti siyanai nekunetsa vana vevanhu. Kana waonawo murume wako akazvinakirwa woregawo kumutambudza, because there are other men who are being abused, by the way, by other women, and they are also facing probably the same situations that these women are facing. And vanhu vakungorarama vari wounded bleeding leopards every single day. Musatambudza vana vevamwe morega kuti vanhu vararame vane bitterness over you, when we are here every day speaking about how good you are and all that. We appreciate you, we value you, we love you as your brothers, as your husbands, and all that. But imimiwo wacho chidika iwo kune vamwe venyu mochirega kunyadzisa vamwe vanenge vachidika. Imimiwo varume the same way, because this is a two cycle way. It's not necessarily about men or women. We have to be balanced and know that Tese, we have a pivotal role to play in this. Then lastly, musamirira kuudzwa kuti ndo pasvika zvinhu. This week alone, I've had conversations with plus or minus 7 people only this week. Yema situations vanhu vanga vari ma victims, what do you call it, a COVID pandemic lockdown. Some died, some are critically injured right now nenyaya yekuda kuramba uchinzi wakabatirira marriage kana relationship. Kana zvisisaita hanzvadzi dzangu vaning'ina madzikoma, just know when to exit, mochichengeta mhuri. But kana zvichikwanisika gadzirisanai, but musamirira kuti vanhu vakuti igadzirisanai. Marriage is between two people. Isusu tikauya sekereke sevafundisi tichikuti igadzirisanai, kana sanana tete kana vanaba munini nanaba mukuru tichikuti igadzirisanai. Takugarisai dare mumba umo mlounge tapedza muri kuenda mubedroom mungori vaviri. Saka nyaya iri pakati penyu muri vaviri. Mukaona muri vaviri musisadondane, musateerera zvatinotaura isu, because we are not part of your equation. Hatina kumbobvira takakunyengerai, makanyengana moga mukadanana moga. Saka iyoyo, that's the same situation that should either influence your decision to be together or not. Kwete kuzotipa basa rekuramba taakuviga vanhu nenyaya yekuti vari kuabusana vatadza kungodila nesituation and when to exit. You'd rather remain alive than die nenyaya yekuda status. I rest my case.
Aiwa, tatenda ane nzeve pane zvataurwa zvese nhasi. Ane nzeve dzekunzwa anzwa. Ari kuda kuramba achiita zveudhekeshu zvakataurwa nambuya wangu kuti udhekeshu. Kusave focused, kusave intentional, kusade ku dignity yako kumaintaina dignity nerespect. Vakadzi vari kuramba vakagara, uri kufunga kuti kugara mu-abusive relationship ndokuve nedignity. Hapana dignity inowanikwa when you are being violated. Dignity unenge watoiluza kudhara, because munhu anenge atokutorera dignity iyo yakutuita sechinhu chenhando. Varume nevakadzi tese tine responsibility yekuchengeta vadiki vari kuteera mumashure medu, be it a girl child or a boy child, because ndiyo future yacho. Mamiriro akaita zvinhu, trend ikaramba ichienda yakadai, in 30 years time Zimbabwe kunenge kusisina, if we don't work hard to be intentional about how we are raising vari kuteera mumashure, both the boy child and the girl child. tatenda nenguva yamaspenda nesu. Coach T, tatenda nekuti vhakachira paprogramu yedu. Munogona kuzodzoka zvakare panguva inoteera neiyo timu yedu yatinayo iyoyi. Tete Spiwe, Tete Modi namukoma Kemi, maita basa. Muve nezuva rakanaka vateereri.
Tinotenda.